All right, it's time to talk about number 6, and I'm ready to get controversial, baby. A lot of people are saying that 5 quarterbacks are going to get drafted in the first round. I think that's possible. I would even say it's likely. I would say who I have at number 6 is probably going to be one of those first-round picks. People are going to be like, Jonathan's an idiot for having him outside of his top 5. But there's a guy I have not mentioned yet that I do have at 5 that absolutely blew my mind when I was going into him. We're going to talk about him tomorrow night. But for tonight, we're going to talk about number 6. Incredible athlete. Honestly, he's only at number 6 for me because of all the uncertainty. And as you can imagine, we're talking about Trey Lance out of North Dakota State. Every scout says physically he is gifted above all. He's got all these awesome traits to it, and I'm not disputing any of that. When I'm talking about who's worth my money, it's really hard for me to look at a guy that played 1 game within the last calendar year and only had 1 year as a starter at a D1 AA school. Now listen, I'm the biggest Carson Wentz fan in the world, having him here in Indy, and I know he's from North Dakota State as well. I know he was the number 2 overall pick, and I think he's going to be a successful quarterback and continue success in the NFL. So I'm not knocking Trey Lance from being from North Dakota State. It's just another factor in the fact that he didn't really play this year. There's so much unknown. He's never actually even played against an FBS team. He was an absolute star against all those D1 AA teams he played, no doubt about it. When I see his highlight tapes, you'll see him too all over the place on different sports networks. He's a great runner. A lot of those highlights have him running somebody over. Again, he's got a huge NFL-worthy frame, no doubt about it. But in the NFL, even with that frame, nobody wants to see their quarterbacks running dudes over. So he's going to kind of have to adjust his running style a little bit, and I think that might be obvious to him and his team. But, again, it's just when I'm talking about who's worth my money now, I'm a little hesitant to say Trey Lance. NFL speed is going to be a lot faster than an FCS schedule. And I'm sure he can adjust. He's an athlete. He's a grown man. He's going to make all these, improvements once he gets to an NFL team. But, this guy's only 20 years old. 2 years ago, this dude's talking about high school graduation. Like, he was in high school 2 years ago. And now we're talking about the NFL. He's only 20 years old. It's crazy how it's worked out, with all the COVID stuff and the opting out and the draft potentials. But, that's pretty much all the negative that I have to say about Trey Lance. His floor, he completed 47.6% of his passes against Illinois State in the year that he started. Like, that's bad. But, that's like the only blemish. Except for the fact that he hasn't played in FBS school. Everything else just looks phenomenal with this guy. With the 20 quarterbacks where I looked at their stats, I looked at their 2020 stats. I made an exception for him and looked at his 2019 stats. It puts him 6th overall in my stat rankings, which is like nothing to laugh at. It just so happens that he's 6th as well in my rankings. But guys, when we look at the pros, he has all the physical tools. In fact, he gets an A+ at all the physical tools. He's got great poise. He's an exceptional runner. I would not compare him to Lamar or Kyler Murray in their running abilities because like I said, he's more of a physical runner than they are. But in terms of elusiveness, he's there. He's a different runner, but he's great. He's a great runner. He's going to run for a lot of yards in the NFL. Again, that stat that sticks out in my head is that in 2020, quarterbacks accounted for 9,500 rushing yards. It's a quality that's not just like, oh yeah, that's nice to have. Like when you're playing Madden, you click the guy that can run, the best, but really you're throwing most of the time. Like, no, it's not just a side attribute that they're like, yeah, that's nice that he's mobile. Like, it's something, whoever drafts Trey Lance is going to expect him to run, much like the Ravens expect Lamar to run. And I think he's got what it takes. From everything I've seen, he absolutely has what that takes. And he's gonna be solid. He makes a lot of safe throws that this kind of impacts his completion percentage. A lot of throws that, like I was taught, it's either my guy or nobody. He misses a lot of throws on the outside where he's throwing the ball thinking either my guy gets it or nobody gets it, and half and half or worse probably than that. But that's better than turnovers. In fact, he didn't turn over the ball once his first year as a starter. Where he started all 10 games, he didn't throw a single interception. His only game of 2020, he did throw a pick in that one game. But, outside of that interception, 0 interceptions. That's incredible. And that plays into his ceiling, right? And the guy protects the ball. My guy or nobody throws. He can make all the throws. He's got an extremely strong arm. He has 1,100 rushing yards and 14 touchdowns in the 11 games that he's played. It's incredible. When I look at all my stats, he's third in ESPN passer rating, fourth in sacks per attempt, seventh in completion percentage, number one overall in touchdown to interception ratio, and again, sixth on my listing. Daniel Jeremiah, who I really like, has pegged him to be a great fit for the Falcons. Now, I'm a Matt Ryan fan. A lot of people blame Matt Ryan for a lot of things, but he's like near the top on the list of almost every NFL stat, including game-winning drives. I know he's had the opportunity to seal the deal before and hasn't made it, but he's definitely earned a great reputation in that stat, as well as every others. I like Matt Ryan. I think he's a veteran guy. I would like to see Trey Lance go there and sit behind Matt Ryan for a year or two, get him acclimated to the NFL, get him acclimated to the speed and the athletes that he's going to be working with in the future, and then, move on from there. However, I do think the Falcons could use that number 4 pick better than they could with Trey Lance. Does Trey Lance fall out of the first round? I doubt it, but maybe they can trade up into the teens or 20s if he falls. And, they have that good second round pick. To be absolutely worth my money, he's going to have to prove it on the NFL field. I will be most intrigued, again, like if he goes to the Falcons or if he goes to the Patriots. The Patriots have a later teen pick. They're talking about moving up to get Fields. Everybody's expects them to do that. But I think if Trey Lance could fall, he's very comparable to Cam Newton. I would compare him to Cam Newton, absolutely. But the difference is Cam Newton played in the SEC and won a national championship. You look at Trey Lance, he didn't play an FBS team ever. He played very well. I think he won a national championship in D1 AA, but, different worlds. I'm excited to see what Trey Lance's future looks like. In terms of if he's worth my money right now or not, I have a lot to learn. I have a lot to learn and see him do something on an NFL field. I'm not going to be jumping after any, contenders autographs of him from college stuff. But I will be definitely intrigued if I see him go to the Patriots or the Falcons. I'm sure there's other scenarios that could play out that would raise my eyebrows. But Trey Lance, incredible athlete. We just have more to see, in my opinion, for him to get in that top 5 spot for me. Because my next quarterback, who we're going to talk about tomorrow night, my 5th quarterback, everybody in the country is sleeping on him, and I don't know why. I'm excited to talk about him. We'll see you tomorrow night.